When it comes to Mario games, music is something that often gets overlooked. Everyone always talks about the amazing level design or precise movement mechanics of these games, but music isn't usually discussed beyond a few nostalgic tracks. That is, except for one game.
Super Mario Galaxy!
Before its monumental release in 2007, Mario had a very distinct style of music. The other 3D Mario games before it, 64 and Sunshine, both had amazing soundtracks, utilizing Latin American and tropical instruments in their compositions. However, when it was time for 3D Mario to come to the Wii, the music team had decided they needed to make a huge leap as well. The duo of Mahito Yokota and Koji Kondo would be entrusted to compose a soundtrack for one of the most revolutionary games coming out of Nintendo, Super Mario Galaxy, a game that would take place completely out of the typical Mushroom Kingdom setting. Instead, Galaxy would be exclusively in space. Naturally, the types of music in the game would vary depending on the galaxy, so the music wouldn't all be the same, but there still needed to be a single thread to connect these tracks. Initially, Yokota thought that Galaxy should have a more traditional Mario soundtrack. However, when he brought a demo to Koji Kondo, he was immediately shot down. Why? Well, in an interview with Satoru Iwata with the duo, it was revealed exactly what Kondo said to Yokota. If somewhere in your mind you have an image that Mario is cute, please get rid of it. Koji Kondo's vision for this soundtrack was not to be traditional or good enough. He wanted the music to evolve just as much as the gameplay was. At first, this was extremely discouraging to Yokota. After all, if someone told you your work was no good, you'd naturally feel pretty bad. However, Kondo and Yokota continued to work together and went on to create 3 new demos, featuring an orchestral track, a pop track, and one with a mix of the two. When they showed the tracks to Shigeru Miyamoto, he immediately favored the orchestral one, which just so happened to be the song used for Good Egg Galaxy. Ironically, this track was one exclusively made by Koji Kondo and not Yokota. Some people would have gotten quite jealous and bitter towards Kondo if this happened to them, but instead, Yokota took it as an opportunity to strive to make better music. Miyamoto and Kondo clearly wanted a soundtrack that sounded the most space-like, not the most like Mario's traditional sound. This whole ordeal gave Yokota a lot of trouble. However, this all changed after learning the difference between sounding like Mario and sounding like Super Mario Galaxy. He quickly became a natural at the Mario Galaxy style of music and finally got over his mental block. In the end, Koji Kondo was only asked to work on a mere 4 songs while Yokota was able to handle everything else. This was just the composing side of things though. What about the actual music itself? Well, as many fans of the series already know, this soundtrack was made with an orchestra, a 50-person orchestra. This was an incredible step forward from previous games that only had tracks that were made almost exclusively with digital instruments. It wasn't just as simple as hiring any old orchestra though. In fact, the group was not very good at first because the video game music genre wasn't something they were used to playing. However, they quickly picked up their performance thanks to the guidance of Yokota and started completing the songs at a rapid pace. The process of turning an orchestral piece of music into video game background music isn't the easiest thing to do though. Along with Kondo and Yokota, there was another person who had influence in the music production, the sound programmer Masafumi Kawamura. Oftentimes, we don't recognize how important things like the pacing of music and sound effects are in gameplay. If the music is too fast or slow, the player might not play the game at the correct pace. On the other hand, if a track is made with some knowledge of what the gameplay might be, the player can have their experience enhanced. The easiest example of this can be found in the battle themes of turn-based RPG style games, where tracks typically have memorable moments and drops that align with the average battle experience. Translating this to Mario Galaxy, there's actually a ton of hidden sound effects that aren't conscious to the player but still make the experience extremely immersive. For example, there's a harp sound effect when you shoot out of a launch star that is actually synced with the background music. It's barely noticeable, but that's the point. Mario games have always been about gameplay first, and in the eyes of Nintendo, everything needs to be supporting the gameplay one way or another. So how does the music of Mario Galaxy remain so memorable while still sufficing as great background music? Well, let's go through a few of the best tracks in the game to answer this. Let's start off with the series of tracks you hear when you first start the game. The first one I want to talk about is the Star Festival. Immediately, you're hit with a feeling of inspiration. It's been 5 years since the last 3D Mario game and you couldn't wait to get started. Or perhaps this was your first 3D Mario game and you were really excited to play. Regardless, in the game you're celebrating the Star Festival and you're headed to go meet Princess Peach at the castle. Toads greet you as you walk to the castle and starbits fall from the sky. While only lasting for a short while, this song is incredibly welcoming and contrasts greatly with the events about to unfold. As Bowser infiltrates the Mushroom Kingdom, we hear Attack of the Airships, a song clearly inspired by Star Wars' Imperial March. At first, this doesn't sound like something out of a Mario game. However, when Bowser shows up, it's clearly the perfect theme song for him. After the dust settles, you're eventually sent off into space. For this little cutscene, there's no music, and you can just take in the view. As soon as you start moving though, this song starts playing. There's not really much I can say about this track besides that it's perfect for the situation. It's comforting and incredibly nostalgic. As you learn about how the new gravity-based controls work in the game, there's no better song to have in the background while chasing these bunnies. In a musical sense, these beginning songs act as a transition between the old ways of Mario to the new. The Star Festival is very Mario-esque, upbeat, and inspirational. It has hints of the spacey elements we are about to encounter, but only in the background with a synth. Attack of the Airships brought that intensity we would expect when Bowser shows up, but for some reason it's a lot more serious. Then of course, Gateway Galaxy's music fully embraces the space elements of Mario Galaxy, a mysterious yet hopeful feeling. However, this calm wouldn't last for long, and when you would use the launch star for the first time and land in the first level of the game, an epic track begins to play. At this point, there's no doubting the success of the epic orchestra in this game, and even at the time of when this game was popular, the term epic was kind of overused to describe it. And it's so interesting too, because the music team had so many concerns of how well it would fit Mario, but ultimately the orchestra ended up working perfectly in this setting. After all, it's just like Koji Kondo told Yokota, Mario is cool, not cute. Obviously though, if we went through every track in this game as they appeared, we'd be here for a while, so I'm just gonna go through my favorites. Good Egg Galaxy is the first real level in the game, and it makes a great first impression. If you recall, this was the first track created for the game, and it's what set the foundation for the rest of the soundtrack. If you were looking for a song to really encapsulate the feeling of Super Mario Galaxy, this is it. Created by Koji Kondo, it captures the magical feeling of the Mario series while establishing that interstellar atmosphere that comes with Super Mario Galaxy. In the end, it's kind of funny to think that the first song finalized for the game is also one of its best. The next song I want to highlight is probably the most outer space-like in the whole game, Space Junk Galaxy. This song is almost like a lullaby in a way. The arpeggios in the background could probably lull you to sleep if you listen to it before bed. This whole level is designed around navigating random objects in space, so there really isn't that much of a theme besides outer space. Honestly, without this music, I think that the line between relaxing and dull wouldn't have been as clear. I mean, what is really the difference between something being calming and peaceful versus it just being boring? I'm not quite sure myself, but this track certainly helps Space Junk Galaxy be one of the most relaxing levels in the game. I want to actually switch things up now and talk about one of the coolest tracks in the entire game, and it's definitely not anything you would think about. I'm talking about Bowser's boss fight music. This piece is so cool, and I'm going to put it over a clip of an Elden Ring boss, and you tell me how good it works. I mean, come on, that's epic. This is not something I was even expecting to run into as I was going over the entire soundtrack of the game, but the moment I heard it, I knew it had to be included in the video. Alright, let's talk about the track you've all been waiting for, Gusty Garden Galaxy. This piece isn't holding back any parts of the orchestra and honestly kind of bends the range of what a typical orchestra even does. In fact, there's a subtle classical guitar being played in a Spanish style which seamlessly gives character to this classical piece. The brass and string sections work together perfectly to create an incredibly full melody which is impossible to get out of your head once hearing. This song is one of the few in the game that clearly wasn't trying to be background music, and it has one of those cool moments where you want a time shooting out of a launch star when this part starts. Gusty Garden as a level is awesome enough, but to have this game's arguably best track in the background just makes it all the better. There's actually a few tracks I wanted to talk about more in this video. I mean, honestly, I could talk about every single one, but Buoy-based Galaxy's theme is one of the best at capturing that epic and adventurous feeling this game wanted to bring. Toy Time Galaxy is one of the best remixes of the original Super Mario Bros. Theme. And Bowser's Star Reactor does an amazing job at calling back to the Super Mario 64 Bowser level theme. The final song I want to end off on, though, is perhaps the most nostalgic track in the entire game, Rosalina in the Observatory. This track, unlike almost any other in the game, is a waltz. This is a song meant for a ballroom dance, not Super Mario, and yet it works. This song actually evolves as you play through the game. At first, it's a simple waltz, but it feels a little lonely, fitting considering you've barely unlocked anywhere in the Comet Observatory. But as you bring this place to life, you do the same for the music. It's genuinely a masterclass in composition by Koji Kondo and a wonderful performance by their orchestra. It's funny, when you say you like listening to video game music, that can literally translate to a genre which sounds nothing like that. I bet if I played this for my grandmother, she wouldn't bat an eye. Well, besides the fact that I'd put on classical music. So why is Super Mario Galaxy's music so memorable? Well, it was made with love. When people see Koji Kondo credited for being on the music team for Galaxy, they assume he made every track. But no. This soundtrack was made almost entirely by Mahito Yokota, who was largely inexperienced in Mario music. Despite this inexperience, he was able to learn from his mistakes and Koji Kondo's advice, and created one of the greatest OSTs in all of gaming. While we would continue to get amazing soundtracks in Mario games in the future, nothing can ever replicate the magic created by Yokota. But even though it could never be replicated, I believe that Galaxy still opened the door for innovation in the soundtracks of Mario games. I believe that without the choice to innovate past the traditional Mario style, we wouldn't have gotten amazing OSTs in 3D World and Odyssey. I mean, who would have thought we would have eventually got a vocalized big band jazz track in a Mario game? But well, I think we all have Galaxy's amazing soundtrack to thank for that.